Do you feel guilty after eating certain foods or find yourself thinking about food all throughout the day? Today, we're going to talk about 5 signs that you have an unhealthy relationship with food, and most importantly, how to change it. Welcome to the Fit and Fulfilled Show. If you're a busy professional woman who wants to finally prioritize your health and happiness, this is the place to be. I'm your host, Soraya Russell, certified macronutrition coach, mindset coach, and lifestyle transformation coach. And each week, I share practical strategies to help you build sustainable habits, boost your energy, and feel confident and strong in your body, all without the stress, burnout, or guilt. Let's dive in. Your relationship with food is essential if you want to achieve and maintain your weight loss goals. I remember before I started my weight loss journey, I thought I could eat the snack or I could be a snack. I didn't think I could do both. And so every time I tried to diet and lose weight, I tried keto, low carb, no carb. I couldn't stick with it. I would restrict and I would binge. And I realized it's because I didn't have a healthy relationship with food. So when I finally got help to change that, losing weight became easy because I could eat pizza, chocolate, cookies in moderation. I could stop when I was comfortably full, and that allowed for me to create consistent habits that I was able to maintain. I ended up losing 20 plus pounds, have kept it off for the past 7 years now. I've helped over 400 busy professionals do it too, and it all started with me changing my relationship with food. So, trust that everything I'm going to share with you is very important if you want to achieve and maintain your weight loss goals. So, the first sign that you have a negative relationship with food is you label some foods as good and others as bad. So, for example, you see pizza, pasta as bad, you see broccoli, spinach, and strawberries as good. And so, because of this, you feel guilty or ashamed for eating certain foods. And sometimes you even might find yourself avoiding social events or situations because of those foods and because you don't feel like you have control around those foods. So, if you've ever been on a diet and someone invites you to brunch or dinner, instead of trusting yourself to go and eat in moderation, you're like, oh, I can't go, I'm on a diet. But it's really because you don't trust yourself around food. You also might find that you overcompensate for eating bad foods by punishing yourself with restriction or exercise. So when I first tried keto, I did it successfully for a week. And then that weekend, I went to an event. There was a bunch of pizza there. Pizza is my absolute favorite food. I had like 5 slices, cried myself to sleep. The next morning, I got up and ran on the treadmill for as long as I could without throwing up. And that is an example of punishing yourself for overindulging. This could also look like you ate a bunch of pizza the night before, and so the next day you starve yourself. Sometimes it's intentional. You might say, I'm not going to eat tomorrow. And sometimes it's subconscious where you just end up not eating breakfast, not eating lunch, and then eating dinner. You might not have told yourself you're doing that, but subconsciously you're trying to starve yourself to make up for overindulging the day before. You have to remember that food is just food and you don't have moral value. Your moral value does not change for consuming it. So the fix for this is to eliminate morality from food. So instead of saying, I was bad today, I ate bad today, you want to say things like, I ate more than usual. You're basically making things more neutral because when you have these extremes of, I was bad or I was good, it makes you go in the extreme opposite direction to remedy that. But when you say neutral statements like, I ate more than usual today, I ate less than usual today, that's not a negative or positive thing. It's just factual. And that stops you from taking extreme action to try and reverse what you've done. You also want to challenge black and white thinking. So ask yourself, what's going to happen? What bad thing will happen if I have 1 slice of pizza? Right? So if you're someone who just restricts, before restricting completely, ask yourself, if I have 1 slice of pizza, what's the worst that could happen? 1 slice of pizza, depending on what it is, can be like 300 calories. That's the same amount of calories in some protein bars, right? That's not going to put you over your calorie goals. So realistically, having 1 slice of pizza is not going to make you overly stuffed. It's not going to ruin your weight loss journey. It's not going to make you feel bad about yourself. So really, there's nothing wrong with it, right? And so realize that having certain foods that you usually think is bad is not really bad, and you can have them in moderation. The second sign that you have a negative relationship with food is that you think about food constantly. For example, you're always thinking about what you just ate, what you're going to eat next, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat. Food occupies a lot of your thoughts and essentially takes away from you enjoying your life because you're always thinking about food. You might even find yourself fantasizing about forbidden foods. So when I used to go on diets, I would always be thinking while eating my salad, oh my gosh, a burger sounds so good right now. A cookie sounds so good right now, right? Or even if you're not on a diet, for example, if you're having a stressful day at work, during that stressful day, you're fantasizing about what you're going to treat yourself to later because you were so productive today or because you had a stressful day at work. And when you think about it, you realize that your food thoughts or food noise interrupts your day to day life, your work, your activities with friends or family. It disrupts you fully being present, enjoying, or being productive because you're thinking about what you're going to eat next, what you're going to do next, what you just ate. When food noise quiets, you have more mental energy to enjoy your day to day life. So the key is to quiet the food noise. When you stop restricting food, you'll find that you stop obsessing over it. Something I always like to share is that the more we tell ourselves we can't have something, the more we want it. Let's do an example. So, if there's a man who wants a woman, right? And the woman's like, I'm not interested in you. I don't want you. The man pursues the woman even more. He's like, I want you even more because I got to win over this girl, right? But once he feels like he can have the girl, it's like, I don't have to be as obsessed about it. Now, in this case, you might want the person to be obsessed over you. But when it comes to food, that's not what we want, right? When we feel like we can't have something, we don't overindulge on it. We don't do the most, right? We can have it in moderation, and that's the goal. So a couple things you want to do is plan your meals in advance to remove decision fatigue. So some of the reasons you might be thinking about food all the time is because you don't have a plan. And so you got to think about what's going to be for dinner. What takeout am I going to order? Where am I to get my food from? But if you already have it planned, that removes the thinking involved with those decisions. You also want to practice mindful eating. So what I find is a lot of women rush their food. This used to be me. I would eat really fast. When you slow down and take your time to eat, right? Put your fork down in between bites, are really present with your food, it's going to reduce that food noise because you're actually connected to the food, you're enjoying it, and so you're not always thinking about what's next because you're not eating so fast. You also want to find non-food activities that bring you joy. Something that I find is many of us have a negative relationship with food because we see food as something fun to do, something to bring us joy. And that's typically because we are not seeking joy in other areas of our life. There might be joy there. I always believe that you can find joy where you seek it. So if you seek joy in the sunshine on your skin, in a nice walk, in reading in the park, then that's going to bring you joy. But if you're only seeking joy in food, that's going to be what brings you joy. So find hobbies and activities that you can do that bring that same feeling. For me, for example, I've joined a tennis club. I go for walks. I read books for pleasure and also for learning. And so I have multiple things I can turn to that bring me joy outside of food. And because of that, food is not the first thing I think about when I'm looking to celebrate. When you can get to that place, food noise starts going away because it's not the first thing you go to when something great has happened or when something bad has happened. The third sign that you have a negative relationship with food is that you can't eat certain foods in moderation. If you find that there are some foods that you can't have in your house because you're going to overindulge, this is a tell-all sign. For example, I love Oreos, always have. And so when I was on a diet, I used to not have Oreos in my house because I'm like, if I have these, I'm not going to have two. I'm going to have a whole sleeve, right? You swing between complete avoidance and overconsumption. So when you're on a diet trying to lose weight, you purge your house of these foods. But when you're winging it, when you're not trying to lose weight, you have them in your house and you just can't stop yourself from overindulging on them. You also might find that you eat large quantities of this food when you have certain triggers. So when you're stressed, lonely, bored, you overindulge on these specific foods. Something I found is foods that you feel like are uncontrollable become controllable when you stop making them off limits. When you stop saying, I can't have Oreos because I can't control myself around them, you start learning how to eat them in moderation. When you have the mindset of, I don't have control over a food, that's what's going to happen. But if you change that mindset to, I can have these in moderation, that's what starts becoming your reality. So the fix for this is start practicing having these trigger foods in your house and enjoying them in moderation. So for example, for me, this might mean having the Oreos and practicing having two at a time, maybe with a handful of fruit. Something else you want to do is eat when you're actually hungry, not when you're feeling a trigger. So for example, if we're talking about Oreos, if I am planning to have an afternoon snack at 3 p.m., it might be two Oreos and some fruits. I'm not going to have the Oreos when I'm stressed after work, right? So we're basically practicing tying the food to actual hunger versus tying the food to trying to suppress an emotion. You also want to get rid of the last meal mentality, which is basically the thought of, I'm going to overindulge on this food because I feel like I don't know when the next time is I'm going to have it. That's typically why we overindulge on things that we enjoy, because we feel like they're bad foods. So this is something I can have now and I'm not going to have it again for a long time. But when you know I can have the Oreos or the ice cream in my house and I can enjoy it in moderation, you don't have that restrictive mindset because you know I can have Oreos again tomorrow for a snack and I can have it the day after because I know how to have two versus having a whole sleeve. For example, we had a client who, before joining our program, she had lost 10 pounds a million different times with different diet programs, but always ended up gaining it back. And the issue was that she would be really strict, eat at home, meal prep, but then when she ate out, she would overindulge, feel bad about herself, go back to her old habits, and gain the weight back. So when she joined our program, she was down 10 pounds, and we talked to her and we're like, hey, you haven't eaten out since joining the program. We need to change that because if you don't practice eating out, it's going to be the same cycle you've been in before. We need to change your relationship with food in order for this to work long term. So we helped her do that. She was going to go to brunch with her friends. She looked at the menu before. She went to brunch, ordered chicken and waffles, not some sad, boring meal, chicken and waffles. When it came, she took half of it and put it in a to-go container so she wouldn't overindulge. She ate when she was hungry. She stopped eating when she was full. She came to the next coaching call and was like, oh my gosh, I feel really good about myself. I did not overstuff myself. I ordered what I actually wanted. I got right back on track with my habits the next day. She lost a total of 22 pounds in our program, has maintained it for the past 2 years now, last time I spoke with her. And she's actually able to go out to eat on a regular basis, keep foods in her house. And the reason this worked is because we helped her change her relationship with food so she could still enjoy life while losing weight. So that's why I say that changing your relationship with food is the foundation to long-term sustainable weight loss. Sign number 4 that you don't have a healthy relationship with food is that your mood depends on what you ate and vice versa. So for example, if you ate pizza, you feel bad about yourself. If you ate a salad, you feel very good about yourself, or vice versa. When you're feeling sad, you have pizza. When you're feeling stressed, you have ice cream, right? When your emotions are tied to the food decisions you make, that's a sign that you don't have a healthy relationship with food because you're using food to cope, or food determines how you feel about yourself that day. You have to realize that just because you feel sad doesn't mean you have to call on food to fix the emotion because it's not going to fix the emotion. Just because you had the pizza, the cookies, and ice cream, that doesn't mean your day is ruined, right? So the fix for this is separating food from feelings. Remember that emotions are temporary visitors, not long-term residents. You do not need to feed them. So you want to practice the HALT method. Check in with yourself before eating and ask yourself, am I actually hungry or am I stressed and trying to avoid the stress? Am I lonely and trying to avoid the loneliness? This will allow you to really figure out if you need to eat or if you need to go for a walk. If you need to sit with the emotion, right? What actually needs to happen for you to move forward. You want to allow yourself to feel difficult emotions without the need to do anything about it. So the thing about folks is women who I know who are very resilient, achieve a lot in life, they don't let their emotions dictate their actions. They can feel stressed, sad, or bored and sit with it and not feel the need to do something to hide from it. They recognize that it's human nature to feel negative things, and some of us are able to feel that and still do what we need to do. And some of us look for ways to hide from it with drinking, smoking, eating. And so we're not really staying on track with the things we need to get towards our goals. So you want to practice sitting with these hard feelings and not feeling the need to hide from them. And then the next step to that is having a list of activities you can turn to that are not eating. So for example, if you're stressed, you can go for a walk. If you're lonely, you can call a friend, call a parent. If you are bored, you can read a book. So have a list of activities you can turn to that tie with each of these emotions besides eating. The fifth sign that you don't have a healthy relationship with food is that you consistently eat past hunger. So if you find that when you eat, you feel stuffed, you have the itis, it's a sign that you don't know how to stop when you're comfortably full, which means you might have an issue recognizing hunger cues and satisfaction cues, and you eat very quickly without paying attention to your food. And this used to be me. People used to make fun of me because they're like, Soraya, you eat like you've been starved. I would eat so fast, I'd always be the first person to finish my food. And because of this, I wasn't able to recognize that I was actually satisfied. So your brain and your body work together, but when you're eating so fast, your brain doesn't have enough time to catch up with your body to say, hey, we're full. And so when you do that, what happens is you finish eating so quickly, and then 5 minutes after, your brain's like, oh, by the way, we're stuffed, we're full. I was trying to tell you that 5 minutes ago, but you were moving so fast, I couldn't do it. Your stomach is actually about the size of a fist. So think about that when you're eating food. You might be eating 4 fists worth of food, right? So take your time, eat slowly, and give your time to really process the fact that you're eating and when you're hungry and when you're comfortably full. So the key is basically to reconnect with your body's natural signals. If you feel like you've never known how to eat until you're comfortably full, you can learn by just eating more slowly and allowing your brain to give you the information that you need to make decisions. Something I like to recommend is practicing the pause method. This means that when you're halfway through your meal, put your fork down and ask yourself, okay, where am I at right now? Am I still hungry? Am I satisfied? This is really going to be helpful when you're eating out at restaurants because typically, if you're at home, you might be pre portioning your meals. But when you're eating out, the portions are huge. And so this allows you to check in with your body to figure out what it needs in this moment, if it needs you to get a to go container, if it needs you to continue eating. You also want to remove distractions. I find a lot of women eat while they're working, while they're scrolling on their phone, while they're doing a million other things. Your brain and your body, like I said, work together. And so when you're distracted, your brain's trying to focus on eating and doing something else. So it doesn't fully process the fact that you just ate a full meal, which is why you feel hungry an hour later because your brain's like, I can't remember when we last ate. So by eliminating or reducing distractions, your brain and body are both fully focusing on the food, which will mentally make you feel fuller longer, which is the goal. So here's what a healthy relationship with food looks like. You eat when you're hungry. You stop eating when you're comfortably full and satisfied, and you do so without the drama or guilt associated with what you ate. You believe and actually practice that all foods fit in moderation. You believe that you can have the brownies, the cookies, the chips, the wine, the pasta, and the vegetables, the fruits, the lean meats. You believe and practice that all those things can fit in the right portion sizes for your goals. You also will find that food does not control your emotions, and emotions don't control your food choices. So, this means that if you eat something, it doesn't make you feel worse or better about yourself. When you feel negative emotion, you don't use food to try and cope with it. You basically have separated emotions from food choices. Remember that you are the CEO of your food choices, not a victim of your cravings and your emotions. So, here are some mistakes to avoid when you're trying to change your relationship with food. The first is trying to change everything at once. I gave you a lot of tips on how to change your relationship with food, but if you try to implement everything at one time, it's going to be very overwhelming. So start with one thing, implement it. Take a couple weeks when you feel like it really has become set in stone, then you can add in a new fix. Mistake number 2 is trying to change your eating habits without addressing your mindset. If you just try to go on a diet or eat clean, that's not really going to solve the issue, right? The symptom is that you overeat, you eat past fullness, but the real problem is your relationship with food. So right now you might be focusing on the symptom by trying to eat clean, not eat out, but that's not really solving the underlying problem. And so if you try to focus on that symptom, you're going to get rid of the symptom, it's going to come back. But by focusing on the actual problem, which is your relationship with food, which is a mindset thing, the symptoms completely go away. And this is why in our coaching program, we have our own in-house therapist to help our clients change their relationship with food, their body, the way they see food, set boundaries, because this mindset shift leads to everything else with weight loss becoming easy. When you have a healthy relationship with food, it's easy to make good food choices. It's easy to eat pizza, brownies, cookies in moderation. So we're really big on mental health inside our coaching program, which is why it's very important for us to have our own in-house therapist. Mistake number 3 is focusing on food and not the emotions. So you might be focusing on, okay, I just have to stop eating when I'm feeling stressed. But really what you want to focus on is being okay with feeling stress, sitting with it and not feeling the need to do anything about it, right? When you focus on that, you're focusing on the problem and solving the problem, which is being comfortable with uncomfortable emotions. When you learn to do that, you stop wanting to turn to food because you're not looking for something to suppress the emotion. So that's what you really want to focus on, not just changing the food part of things. Mistake number 4 is expecting perfection instead of progress. If you struggle with your relationship with food, it's probably been something you've struggled with for a long time, if not for life. This could be from what you've seen with your parents, environmentally, things you've seen growing up, or just habits you've formed over time. Don't expect to just flip a switch and everything's fixed. Focus on slowly over time having a better relationship with food. Remember that your relationship with food is the foundation of achieving and maintaining your weight loss goals. If you want to maintain your goals, you gotta focus on the foundation. So thank you for tuning into the Fit and Fulfilled show today. I hope you walked away with practical strategies that you can start implementing right away to feel more fulfilled in your personal and professional life. And if you found this helpful in any way, I ask that you please subscribe and let me know what you liked most about today's episode. It helps other busy professionals discover these strategies so they can also start thriving in their lives as well. And if you want to lose 20 to 50 pounds without cutting out your favorite foods, I invite you to apply for our coaching program, the Fit and Fulfilled Academy. In the Academy, we provide the personalized guidance, coaching, and support you need with nutrition, fitness, and mindset to achieve lasting weight loss results. You can get all the details down below. Next week, we're diving into a brand new topic, but until then, remember you deserve to feel as confident in your body as you do in your career. Take care.